now we're talking about how blockchain will disrupt the travel industry. We have Douglas Saunders, who's the co-founder and CEO at Travelblock. He's been in executive positions for multiple hotel brands across North and Central America and is an investor in various successful ventures such as oil companies, cryptocurrencies, stocks, and social media platforms. Can you please give him a very warm welcome?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to listen today. As I said, I'm Douglas Saunders. I'm CEO, co-founder of Travelblock. But that is not what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. That's for tomorrow, is for our ICO pitch. Right now, I want to talk about some history of travel and an educational on the travel industry. In fact, past and future technological disruptions to the travel industry. I've been in the travel industry now for close to 30 years of my career. Pretty much my entire career I've been in travel. And I've seen a lot of technological changes that have taken place that have shaped the industry to where we are today. And that brings us to where the blockchain is. But in order to understand that, we have to take a look at the past. And in taking a look at the past, I found myself in my early years in my career working at a hotel in Canada called the Harrison Hot Springs Hotel. And it was a heritage hotel built in the kind of the early 1900s. So when I found myself in the position of director of rooms, we had to do some advancements. And I don't know, does anybody out there remember those old-fashioned patch PBX systems where people would phone into the operator and they'd say, I'd patch you through, and you kind of connect that phone call? Does anybody remember those? Perfect. I'm not dating myself too bad here then, am I? Anyway, we had to upgrade that to digital PBX, and that was a technological change. And I remember our switchboard operator, her name was Adele, she'd been doing that job for 20 years of her career. And when we took that digital PBX, where she was connecting those calls, and put that little box in front of her and said, this technology is replacing that, she looked at it in astonishment, bewilderment. How is it possible that this little box can do what I've been doing for 20 years? And that's a lot how people look at the blockchain right now. They don't understand it. They don't understand the technology behind it, much like she looked at that back then. But back then, there was no internet. There were no cell phones. There were no emails. None of that existed. So let's take a look as a hotel at the reservations department. How did people come to stay at that hotel when they couldn't go online and Google it? Well, we had what we called our travel agent warriors. And their job was literally to get in their car, fill it up with brochures, go to the travel agents, and market to the travel agents our hotel so they could put it out publicly to the public that were coming to their organizations. Now, here's the key to that. The travel agents were marketing arms of the hotel. They were the ones that were selling to the public our hotel. Now, corporations would come to the hotel and they'd say, can we get a special rate for our organization to stay in your property? And we'd give that organization special rates just for them. Conventions like this would come to our hotel and they'd say, hey, can you give us a special rate for your convention? And we'd give them a special rate. But our agreement with those travel agents back then, because they were marketing to the public, they were called travel agent agreements. We could not market for less to the public than the rate that we gave the travel agent. Does that make sense? Because if we marketed to the public for less, we'd be competing with the very hand that was feeding us. And that sets us up for where we are today. Because the public never had access to those low corporate rates. They had no access to those closed consumer rates. They only had access to what the travel agents could give them publicly. So, mid-90s comes along. Internet. What's the internet? I don't understand what this is. People didn't, what's this? You go online and you do what? Email? What is email? Websites, online credit card payments. Nobody understood what that was. 1996. I remember getting a phone call from this company called Expedia. And they said, we're an online travel agent. And we'd like to register your hotel onto our platform under those same travel agent agreements, meaning your hotel cannot market for less than the rates that you give us. I figured, why not? Hotel chains were doing it. Everybody thought, well, this is new. Let's give it a try. Travel agents, I remember going to the travel agents back then and saying to them, hey, you know what? There's these new online travel agents. Are you concerned about that? And they laughed. They said, no one's going to go online and book their vacation. No one's going to go online and book their travel. Today, Expedia is the largest monopoly in the travel industry. They have over 200 online booking stores worldwide under different names in 75 countries. Global travel today is a $2.3 trillion space. Global online travel represents $600 billion a year since 1996. Think about that. 22 years ago, there was zero market share. Today, 22 years later, travel agents are extinct, and Expedia is doing $600 billion and a few others that are out there. Think about that. That $600 billion, the public are paying top dollar for travel. They cannot get that deal. If you hear someone going and saying, hey, who's got a buddy out there who said, hey, I got a good deal on this vacation? Y'all heard of that, right? I got a great deal on this package. Well, that package didn't come from Expedia. That came from some special deal that they had with the hotel that wasn't available to the public. Okay? Today, where we are today, 22 years later, we have a whole new technology called the blockchain. We're going to be learning a lot about that tomorrow and how TravelBlock is going to be a major disruptor in that. But right now, fraud is at an all-time high. It's estimated that $3 billion a year is in fraud just in the United States market. What does that mean? Credit cards. Somebody can take a credit card, they can book a stay 2 or 3 nights, check out before the cardholder even knows that charge was put on their card. And the same with airlines. $3 billion is being put back to the consumer. I have a feeling the blockchain is going to be able to correct that. Blockchain is changing industries much like the internet of the 90s. We heard all these ICO pitches. It's changing industries across the board. The travel industry is ripe for change because for 22 years, consumers have been paying top dollar with no access to private membership rates until today. Those archaic OTA agreements must change. The blockchain circumvents the private versus public. You see, when somebody purchases a token, a utility token, they're purchasing into a private, closed consumer group. It's time for things to change, and it's going to change. So I want to thank you for your time. The future is now. Travel through the blockchain. I look forward to talking to you about our ICO tomorrow. Thank you for your time today.